Welcome to the Farming Without the Bank podcast, the show with a no BS approach to money, hosted by a farm strategy expert and authorized IBC practitioner. Join us as we get real and expose the flaws of traditional financial institutions in order to help farmers take control of their finances, create peace of mind, grow their wealth, and leave a legacy. Now, here's your host, Mary Jo Irmen.
Hello, and welcome back to the podcast. Thank you very much for being here. All right, I am going to talk today about the three characters in the play. And if you have not read Becoming Your Own Banker, you need to read Becoming Your Own Banker. Nelson talks about this. This is a very important part of the infinite banking concept. And I don't talk about it in my book, and I don't talk about it a lot. So I wanted to bring this up again because I have been talking about it more. The first character in the play is who owns the bank. Nelson says we should be the owner of the bank, right? Most of us are only what? Borrowers. And so we want to own the bank. How do we own the bank? We own a life insurance policy. If we own a life insurance policy with a mutual company, we now become owners of the bank. We co-own this life insurance company, aka, as Nelson calls it, our bank. And so now we get to participate in that if we want to. If the bank makes money, the bank owners get a profit. If the life insurance company makes money, the policy holders get a dividend. That is our share of the company profit. So it is as if we own the bank because we can vote. We can do all sorts of things with mutual companies. Most people choose not to, but we can. All right, so there's the owner of the bank. That is the first character in the play. So it's not hard. It's not hard to be a bank owner. We don't have to go set up a building. We don't have to go through all the regulations. Pretty simple. We just buy a life insurance policy. Somebody that is professionally trained is going to manage the money of our so-called bank. Okay, number 2, we will be the banker. The second character in the play is the banker. The banker is the one that gets to decide if they're going to lend you money or not. We today are going to the bank and begging, giving blood, doing whatever we need to get to borrow money. Why do we do that? When we can, aka, own the bank, and we can be the banker, and we get to decide if we want to lend money to ourselves. So if I have a life insurance policy and I have cash value in there, then I get to decide, should I lend money to my business? Should I lend money to myself? Am I going to pay it back? What are my terms that I'm going to give myself? This is the scary part. This is where people are going to either succeed or they are going to fail miserably. If you are a terrible banker, you are not going to win at this game. So if you are think about it. If your banker lent you money and never made you pay it back, would the bank be there for you to borrow money from again? No, they would have been out of business a long time ago. Same thing here. If you're the banker, you get to decide if you're going to lend money. Okay, let's say that Mary Jo decides she's going to lend money to Farming Without the Bank. Farming Without the Bank, Mary Jo says, Farming Without the Bank has to pay monthly, or Without the Bank has to pay quarterly, or whatever business I decided to lend it to. Short-term rental business, long-term rental business, whatever. I'm the one that gets to decide what my terms of payback are. This is by far the biggest question I get from clients that borrow the first time. They're like, so how do I pay it back? How does the life insurance company want it paid back? However you want to pay it back. There are some of my notes that I pay randomly. There are some of my loans that maybe I will pay quarterly. There are some of my loans, maybe I would pay them monthly. If you borrow for a car, maybe you want monthly. If you're going to borrow for a business opportunity and that business opportunity hasn't produced any income, maybe you want to pay interest only. Maybe you want to pay it back annually. Maybe you want to randomly pay it back. It is 100% up to you because you are the banker. Just make sure that you put terms in. But that is the second character in the play. You're the banker. The third character is the borrower. Now, you can be the borrower, you're already the borrower, but somebody else is making money off of you and somebody else is deciding on your terms. And so, if you can now be the borrower as well, do you care how much interest you're going to pay to the lender? No, because you're lending money from yourself on your terms and you own part of that business. So do you care? No, because if your business makes a profit, you get to pull money out of the company as a profit, which is going to be your dividend. So you have to be and you have to pay attention to the fact that we want to be all encompassing. We want to be all those people in that play. We don't just want to be the borrower and then have somebody else deciding our terms, have somebody else that has collateral of our stuff, and they can just come and take our stuff. I have a client that called the other day and said that she ended up having to file bankruptcy. She was trying very hard to keep the farm going. And instead of allowing her to sell her equipment, they repoed it for pennies on the dollar and then they went and sold it. Why not allow her to sell it, right? Why not work with her to sell it? Because they're not going to. They're the bank. I'm not beating up on the bank here because obviously we're in over our head. But there was no help to get her out of it. It's just how much more profit can we make as the bank? So if you can be all of those people, don't you think it's going to change the dynamic? So many people don't understand this concept and they think it's about a rate of return. And you all know, if I hear that one more time, my head's going to explode. Like, it is just the most painful conversation ever when somebody says, well, what's my rate of return? It is not about a rate of return. It is about liquidity, control, guarantees, and who are the characters in the play. If you own the bank, and most of you are going to want to own your own business. So if you're owning the bank, isn't that just part of it? Well, why wouldn't I go to the bank, Mary Jo, if interest rates are lower? Well, you can go to the bank if interest rates are lower. But you are then what? As Nelson would say, we're stealing the peas because you're going to a different bank and you're not giving your bank, you're not patronizing your bank. There are times when I may go to a traditional bank and I'm not going to use my life insurance policy because I'm still building along the way. People do it all the time. How literal do we want to take Nelson? So many people are like, oh, Nelson says my premiums should equal my income. And they take that so literal. But guess what they don't take literally? Be the owner of the bank. Do not patronize other banks, right? Nelson said, get rid of the snakes and dragons. And yet, we decide what we want to take literal out of Nelson's book. You got to decide what you want. You want it all or you want some. However, back on track. What character are you? Decide who you want to be. If you want to be the owner of the bank and you want to be the banker, you need probably more than one policy. We probably need to get as many of these things built as we can so our banking pool is bigger. The bank doesn't just say, oh, hey, you know what? I'm just going to take one depositor and lend money from one depositor. I got one, I'm good. No. The bank says, come on in. I want as many people coming in and depositing money at my bank as possible, because then I get to lend that money out and make more money. That is why you see banks on every single corner. Because if they have more than one location, it is convenient for people to do business for them. That is why they give out free gifts. It's why they do all the things they do, so that people will tend to come and say, hey, I want to deposit my money here. So then they can lend it out. And if you borrow money from me, then I even make more money. And I can have things as collateral, right? And so the banker is the one that gets to decide who lends the money. How are we going to lend the money? Or the owners of the bank? Wouldn't you want to be those two people? You just have to be a good banker, and you have to be a good bank owner. And you have to not steal the peas and just think that this is free money, because it's not free money. And no, you don't get to borrow against your death benefit. You get to borrow against the cash value. And so there's some misconception there that I've heard a couple of times. Be honest, be a good banker, and your bank will be thriving. Have more than one bank, aka policy. The more policies you have, the more money that's compounding, earning uninterrupted compound interest with the dividend, the more death benefit that gets passed on. Nelson had 49 of them. We should not just have one policy over our lifetime. As we have income growing, we should be starting more policies. Short term, yes, you take a little bit of a hit. Long-term thinking, think like a forester. Long-term thinking, and you are winning at this. Okay? While everybody else is in the market and they're struggling to go up and down, you are winning because yours just continues to go up no matter what. Okay, you guys, if you've not gotten Becoming Your Own Banker, you can get that on my websites. So you can go to withoutthebank.com or farmingwithoutthebank.com and you can grab that book. If you have not gotten my book yet, then grab them as a bundle. Because I do not talk about the characters in the play in my book. There's no need. Nelson wrote his book. Mine is not to replace Nelson's. Both of those books are important to have. farmingwithoutthebank.com, withoutthebank.com. If you have questions, comments, concerns, you know where I'm at. MaryJo at withoutthebank.com. And that's all I got for you today. Let me know if you need anything. Otherwise, have a fantastic rest of your day.
Thanks for listening to the Farming Without the Bank podcast. We hope today's episode has inspired you to take control of your finances in new ways. Don't forget to check out our website, farmingwithoutthebank.com, and engage with us on our Facebook page, Farming Without the Bank. Join us next week as we smash more financial myths and empower you to accomplish your financial goals.